So what I'm going to teach you right now is how to create a template to use with Google Forms. I use Google Forms all the time, and a template is super helpful in being able to make your quiz or your homework or whatever it is that you're creating a little easier. I've only had a couple of people ask me about this, so I'm just going to show you. Whenever you're in Drive and you want to create a form, go to Google Forms. It gives you the option to do a blank form or from a template. So I have one template that I use very frequently, and if you go to template, you'll be able to see Milan C2 School District. There are only 3 of us that have created templates. You can submit a template, which is what I'm going to show you how to do, but Algebra 1 test template, I'm going to show you what that one looks like. So if I create from here, I want to rename this, and it doesn't change the original because it's saved there, so it like automatically makes me a copy of it basically. So I would change this to whatever test I'm talking about, and this information starts out every single Algebra 1 test that my kids take. So it takes them to the reference sheet if they want to use it. It's also in the settings. It should be collecting their email addresses. It should restrict it to Milan C2 only because they have to be using their school email, and 1 response because it's a test. The presentation, I have it shuffle the question order just because sometimes they're sitting shoulder to shoulder and I like to know that they're not necessarily looking at the same question. You can tell them something at the end. Sometimes I split my test up by SMART goal. And whenever I do that, a lot of times I put the link to the next form in here so that whenever they finish, that gives them a link, they click on it and it goes to the next one. So I have like 5 questions, 5 questions, 5 questions. You don't have to do that, it's just something that I started doing towards the end of the year. It's already set to make it a quiz. You can turn on the lock mode. That is, if they are filling out this Google form, they can't look at anything else. I don't have this turned on because I let them look at the reference sheet, and if I lock it, they can't because they can't open up any other tabs. But if they don't have anything else they need to look at, this is an easy way for you to know that they can't be Googling answers. And then you have a choice to immediately release their grade or after you've looked at it. I have to go through and manually grade several of my questions because there are different variations of the exact same answer. Also, things like anytime you're putting a short answer, they might accidentally put a space at the end, and if you didn't have that, it'll count it wrong, things like that. And immediately after submission, I also don't do this one because I teach multiple periods a day, so I don't necessarily want my first Algebra 1 class to know what they got on their tests before the last one takes it so that they're not telling each other. I also allow them to see point values only. You can go back and change these things after they've taken it and all your kids have seen it, but in the initial period, I don't do that. That's what my template looks like. I use this thing all the time. I tweak it every now and then, but for the most part, this is what I go with. What you can do though, is you can create a template. So let's say, for example, since I'm creating one, I'm going from a blank one. So I want to say that this is a template first of all, and I'm going to call it an example. Say that I want to ask for their name, last name, first name. I do this also because I like to sort by their names once I have it in Google Sheets. So that's a big reason why I have these options. And then like I said before, I teach multiple periods, so period. So I would put whatever period, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Those are bogus, by the way. Okay, so I accidentally added another one. I can just get rid of that. These are all required. Okay, it's set up to automatically require them. Whenever I go here, it's set to collect their email address. I do not want to send receipts because I don't want them to know what their answers were or to be able to forward that email to other kids who haven't taken it yet. I like to limit them to 1 response. They have to use this domain. They can't edit it after they submit. Now, if you have kids doing test corrections or a SPED student, this is what I would do for them a lot of times for their extended period, because otherwise they can't get back into it. So my para would call me and say, hey, I have these kids that are ready to finish up their tests. And that morning when they would have taken it, it would not have let them edit after they submit. But once I click this, they have that option. If you require every question to be answered, then they have to put in some kind of an answer. It won't let them submit at the end of the hour. And I don't let them see summary charts or text responses because it's a test, it's private. Okay, so presentation, shuffle it. Progress bar only matters if you have multiple sections to your test. So if you only have one section, this is pointless. And I want it to be a quiz. I want to send out their score later after I've looked at it. I don't want them to see their missed questions after they've submitted or the correct answers after they submitted, only what each question is worth. Okay. So this is my basic setup template. If you have generic instructions you want, so for example, if you're a math teacher, you might say, make sure you have a box sheet and that you're showing your work. You could do this for each type of class that you teach. So you could have a template for math, for English, for science, for history, for whatever. Now that I have this template example in here, I'm done with it. I'm going to go to Drive and I want to put it in there so that I could use it later. So I'm going to do from a template, but instead of choosing a template, I'm going to submit one. And to do that, I'm going to select the form and I can just choose recent because I was just in it. Template example, open it and submit a copy of this file instead of the original. You could do that so that you can edit it later if you accidentally made it a test and you didn't want to do all that. Category. They have all sorts of categories here that you could choose for it. And then, I guess I have to choose for it. Basics and submit. So now, it says it was added. Let's refresh it. There it is, the template example. So now when I go in, I can just click right on that and skip over putting in those first 3 questions and choosing the settings. So that's it.